Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sounds from the Studio, brought to you by Contemporary Craft. Contemporary Craft fosters the use of traditional craft materials such as ceramic, fiber, glass, metal, and wood to make art. Our community honors the history and heritage of craft while showcasing modern, exploratory work.
And since our organization is located in Pittsburgh, PA, we decided to bring some of the stories of our exhibiting and studio artists to a broader audience by way of this podcast. I'm Rachel, the Executive Director at Contemporary Craft.
And I'm Kahmeela, a podcaster and art enthusiast. We are your hosts for this journey, and there are many ways to keep up with us. You can go to the Facebook page and like it, Contemporary Craft, on Twitter at SCCPGH, Instagram at SCCPGH, or just go to contemporarycraft.org. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We just ask that you please follow, rate, and review, and also share alike.
In response to our current exhibition, Climate Awakening, our Director of Education and Residencies is working with our team to bring a new event to Contemporary Craft this fall. It's a Weave-a-thon. Happening on Friday, November 17th from noon to midnight, a group of weavers will be working on more than a dozen looms here in our studio to create reusable dish towels. The output of these towels is to serve two purposes. First, to minimize single-use paper towels and sponges, and second, to raise money for our studios to buy a 12-harness loom for use by students and the Loom Club. You can stop by on November 17th during the Weave-a-thon to see the weavers in action, or you can sponsor a weaver by visiting our website. The dish towels will then be available the next day in the store for purchase, with a portion of the proceeds going towards the new loom and the remaining going back to the weavers who are making it all happen.
That's awesome. A weave-a-thon. That's so is that anybody can do that? You don't have to be like someone who even knows what a loom is, or are there
So people
steps
signed
that need to be
up for
taken?
the spots to do the actual weaving, but people can certainly come in and try their hand at weaving during the event,
Nice.
and then take a peek at it all as it's happening as well.
That sounds pretty exciting, especially as I've noticed in my big age of adulthood that dish towels and stuff are things that I'm looking for the proper one. I am now finding that I have a favorite one.
Yeah, well, and it
It's
all started
ridiculous.
because in our lunchroom, somebody was using like a reusable napkin, and with the
Mm,
exhibition, we started talking about how can we make small but impactful differences, and dish towels are a good way to
that's a very good
do
way,
that.
especially when you got kids and pets. Like those things, you just go through them like crazy pants.
Yeah.
So we could go on forever and ever about dish towels and raggedy paper towels, but today we have Ehren Tool. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am so grateful, Erin, to be reconnecting with you today. We were just talking about it back in 2015 whenever I managed the studios. We haven't had this conversation, but coming from a family who has a number of people who have served in the military, that experience actually was one of the things that really rooted my interest in craft. Just hearing your lecture, having the opportunity to meet you, and the materiality and how those things connected, it just, for whatever it's worth, it really made a difference to me. So thank you. So also you put an entire block of clay on the wheel and just threw cup one at a time, which was really super fun to watch. So again, excited to have you here. And if we can dive into your practice a little bit, is it entirely cups?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I put on some other things just to fill the kiln sometimes, but yeah, no, I think that's the right scale. I feel like to talk about issues of war and violence and things like that. The hand to hand, not in the time it takes me to make a teapot, I can make 4 cups. So I'd rather have 4 people have 4 cups than one person have one teapot.
So, and no, that's a great point, but like why do you think you came to the cup? Was that natural?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it would be unnatural.
Well, I guess what
Well,
I
what was
mean is
the
like, did
connect?
you
What were
think
the
about it,
steps?
or you
Yeah.
like, what is the object that I make, or was it maybe the word is organic and not natural? Like, did it just like hit you like, oh, cups are the relatable
Yeah, I mean,
object?
I got out of the Marine Corps and took the GI Bill and was just kind of swinging from class to class, speech, drawing, painting. I took an emergency medical technician course, snapped my ankle, couldn't complete the training. And then stumbled into ceramics, and I don't know. It just, again, like you want to talk about war, want to talk about violence, but that's like, I feel like peace is the only adequate war memorial, and that's only adequate. You know, it's not it's not even good. But so anything else is at best a failure, and usually some kind of lie that promotes war as like a good and noble thing, right? Like it's like it's the right scale, right? Like Stalin said, one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. That's just trash. A million war dead is an incalculable tragedy, and so I don't know. I think cups, and it's actually had a student at Cal tell me I was cheating because because using clay, because you had to hold the cup to finish your drink, right? So you had to contemplate the work, right? Like people go to France, they get it's the Mona Lisa, get a selfie and walk on, right? But with me, you got to finish your beverage, right? And so like some of the images are kind of heavy, but like you fill it with whiskey and you keep talking, and then the images get heavier, and then and that's the thing to me is it's not about like I have stories about all the cups and what the images are and what they mean. But what's more important to me is, you take the cup back into your life, and then somebody you already know, love, and trust, maybe they can share a story that they wouldn't otherwise. My father didn't talk about his war. My grandfather didn't talk about his war until I came back from my war. And, it's war is murder. Military sexual trauma is rape. And those are hard things to talk about. And there's no place in polite society to talk about any of that stuff. So honestly, anyway, like,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's the cup's just more intimate, and it is. I mean, it's funny seeing them in museums where there's signs that say "Don't touch." It's still not the point, but that's what I say too. Like, even if the cup's in a museum, how long are they going to hold on to it? Not 500,000 to a million years. So that cup will have an opportunity to live in a different way, once the museum's gone, once they get deacquisitioned. So.
So, for those who may not be familiar entirely with your body of work, so when you say the cup is the perfect thing to talk about war, and when you're talking about the images, describe your cups, please.
Yeah, they're just they're decorated with decals, iron oxide decals, or slip cast, underglazed decals, or just sprig molds, low relief sprig molds from like the toy gas mask. The gas mask that I wore in the Gulf War is a toy for kids ages 5 and up. The insignia, my Marine Corps insignia, or other people let me borrow their insignia. I'll make molds of their insignia and then make them a cup, and then I keep the mold and they keep the cup. So it's been, I have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of molds now. But that's, and so the people share, their stories, and I can make a cup and put it down, and somebody can pick it up in 500,000 to 1 million years later, and it's the same thing. It's as if I handed them the cup personally. And, that's kind of a magic thing, right? Like somebody said, art is the possibility of love between strangers. And it's crazy to me to think about being able to interact with people in 500,000 to 1 million years, and like,
Right.
and over a cup, and, the images, and hopefully that, a lot of the images will be irrelevant. Like, war won't be on the top of everybody's head, but that's just yeah, I don't know.
I'm curious about kind of the transference of the cups and the stories that people do have in relation to them, like once those objects come into their lives. Do a lot of people share those stories back with you, or are you in kind of activity with people through workshops sometimes, or
Yeah, it's a
like how
little.
often do you hear those stories back?
I mean, it's kind of. Sometimes I feel like that dude in Clockwork Orange, because it is, somebody, and I can tell, like the Craft in America thing will come out in Arkansas, and I'll get 3 cup requests from Arkansas around Veterans Day, right? They show the same, you know, they show my work around Veterans Day, and so then I'll get cup requests, and people will just drop like these insane stories of suicide and uh, you know combat deaths or whatever, and ask for a cup. And it's like, man, okay, I mean, I just feel
Wow.
bad because it's not my day job, so my turnaround time is pretty bad, and I can't make as many as I'd like to, but yeah, I mean, people share, and I don't know if it's true, but the Irish bartender. A burden shared is a burden halved. So I don't know if it's really true, like sharing the burden, but
Interesting.
like, but I I don't know if it halves the burden or it doubles the burden. But I think that's the thing is that like, these mothers and wives and fathers and sons, they don't want to like deal with this trash, of war and the consequences, but they have to, and so I don't feel like I get a pass. I feel like once a Marine, always a. But yeah, so
How long did you serve?
5 years, 3 months, and 20 days. They give you a little form.
Wow.
It's an 8-year contract, but 5 years, 3 months, and 20 days active, and then the rest inactive, ready reserve. But yeah, I was in the '91 Gulf War with MP Company Headquarters Battalion, 1st Marine Division. We were attached to Task Force Ripper, and then I extended for 15 months and went on embassy duty. I was an embassy guard in Rome for 15 months and then Paris. 100 pounds ago, I looked good in a uniform.
Do you remember, I guess what I'm going to ask is, do you remember the first cup that you made and how did it impact you? Because obviously it has had an impact on you.
Well, I mean, it was probably, okay, so my first art instructor after the Marine Corps was Ben Sakaguchi, Japanese American, raised in internment camps, said all art's political. And he was really great. He was really a strong, great professor. So I took all the drawing and painting classes I could with him, and then he retired. And his best friend was Phil Cornelius, and he was Army between Vietnam and Korea. But he was Army and I was Marine Corps, right? So I'm like trying to center, like, look at Big Sergeant Tool getting his butt kicked by 5 pounds of clay, like, oh, and then it was like everything was Army Marine Corps rivalry stuff. And he said I couldn't decorate my work, and I went home that night, and I'm looking, oh yeah, I went home and made molds. Like this mold might be 20 years old, but it was just 100% out of spite because Bill told me I couldn't decorate my work. I was like, yeah, right. You can't tell me anything. So I started decorating my work just 100% out of spite. And but yeah. And he also said anybody can take a good idea and work with it for years, but it takes a special kind of person to take a bad idea and work with it for years. And he made really thin teapots that broke and shipping all the time. And I give stuff away. It's genius.
So at what point did you go from that moment of that first cup to this idea that you were going to keep making them? Or, I've certainly seen exhibitions where there's just like hundreds of cups.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, well, it was a throwing class. It wasn't a sculpture class. It was, it was a throwing class. So we just would throw 6 hours a week and cut stuff in half and, whatever. If I win the lottery, I'll buy back the first 10 years of work I made. It's awful. It's so bad and heavy. Like, but I was so proud, like, oh, look, it's 2 inches. Like, just, I mean, that's the thing too. Like historically, people forget, like, traditionally, I would just now be starting my career. I would have apprenticed for somebody else for 20 years. And now I would be starting my own thing. And like, man, like reading was, online reviews for like pottery classes, private pottery classes. I tried to throw for 15 minutes and I didn't learn anything. She's the worst teacher ever.
Oh no.
Like, yeah, okay. So I mean, that's the thing too. I think with students, like even my son right now, he's going through. Well, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but it's just like just try to enjoy what you're doing at the time and. Like everybody's worried about solo shows in New York, but it's like, man, just like make the work first. Don't worry about the work, and then, the rest will take care of itself, maybe, or not.
Well, you said that this is not your day job. So what is your day job?
I'm the sphincter of ceramics at UC Berkeley. I'm the ceramics lab. Everything passes through me. Load the kilns and fire the kilns and make the glaze and move heavy things. Children, be careful what you learn how to do. I learned how to make cups and move heavy things. And guess what I do, boys and girls? Make cups and move heavy things. So.
Now, had you already accepted or known that you were an artist before you went into the military?
Well,
Or was this
I'm
something
not sure I accept that I'm an artist now. Mediocre potter.
Okay.
I mean, it's just,
Well,
yeah. I mean, no, I don't think I was. I mean, but I'm not really super confident with that title now.
Why is that?
I don't know. I haven't been to therapy. I'm starting. I'll figure it out maybe. But I think that,
Gotcha.
but that, I don't know. I mean, I think part of the reason why I make cups and not something more sculptural is just that I don't have the heart to, like, with all the junk in the world, like, oh no, I need to make something more, like one more thing, and like at least, a functional cup, and it's funny too, like in grad school, man, nobody had anything to say about functional cups. When I shot them, boy, they couldn't shut up. They're just talking about the shards all day, but like functional
Wow.
ceramics, not so much. But, it's nice for me. Like I have stuff in museums and, that's cool. But like what's really cool is in people's homes. Like I made a cup for a Vietnam vet friend and he passed away. And now it's like in the family heirloom, like archive, right? Like he's gone now. And so the cup is the stand in. And like, so that's like really an honor for me, right? Like as an object maker, you want your things to be appreciated, and then
Right.
like when people accept the cups or like, and that's the thing too with like not selling them, right? Is if I sold it for $50 or $100, then that's what it's worth, right? And so now when your mailman comes and like, oh shoot, man, I was in the Marine Corps. Where'd you get that cup? You're like, you paid $100 for it now, so now you can't let it go.
Mm.
But if you didn't pay anything for it, it's easier to let it go. And that's the goal, I think, is to have the cups in the hands of people that really appreciate that. And that's when they become more. It's not because of me. It's not like I put some like magic sprinkles on it. Like it's when the cup resonates with somebody else. That's what makes it magic. That's what makes it more than a red solo cup is when it resonates with somebody else, like, but until then, right, it's nothing. It's just and that's cool. Like it'll find its way.
Well, a lot of people, and myself included, you have a attachment to your mugs and cups, and then there's certain ones that you love and you like, and ones that you can't get rid of, and don't, and it just kind of becomes that. And I like how you're saying that, a lot of you give these cups to people, and they just become something more than just a cup, and it's also just more like cups are very multifaceted. You don't just have to drink from them. You can put your change in there. You can put it up. You can hold your pens and all that business, and it's just nice to have something like that people are going to hold on to for so long, and also just have like so many stories that go along with it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I say, that I think that it's fun is the ones that are out in the world. Like I don't know that objects really have auras or like any like.
They do, and you can't have it.
Well, I think that then the ones that are moving through the world are going to pick up more stories, right? The ones at the Smithsonian are just sitting there in a box, like and not
Right.
doing anything. The ones at Goodwill right now, like we have one, got it for $1.50. So
So you found one in the
my
wild in
mother-in-law found one
Goodwill,
at
and
Goodwill, yeah.
that's
Wow.
dope.
But but I mean, that's what like when we had a friend from Berkeley who was in Germany and saw a cup at an Airbnb, or in New York, sorry, and saw a cup in an Airbnb in New York. Like what the like anyway,
That's
they're
cool.
out there, and that's more fun. It's just the out and collecting stories, and sometimes they break,
Yeah.
and but that too, like sometimes they break and they get put back together, and then it's like that's the joke I say, right? When it's functional, then it's craft. When you break it and glue it back together, now it's art, right? 'Cause you can't drink out of it anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like it's just I do like the making the cup is really just like it's like a mental illness or something where I have to like.
A mental illness, or perhaps a mental health process.
Yeah, okay.
I've, I, like maybe I am not a mental health professional,
Yeah,
nor do I pretend to be one. I am just suggesting that maybe
yeah. No, I
it's
mean,
something. It could help as like a meditative process.
sure, maybe, yeah. And, but I've been part of this group called Vet Art, and they're trying to promote art making as a like another tool for your mental wellness and stuff. But as and, in doing that and listening to them talk about their experiences and stuff, I'm realizing that a lot of stuff that I thought was just normal guy stuff is actually not. Like,
Mm.
I mean, what I was doing this little intake interview, and the woman's like, "Do you ever have feelings of hurting yourself or others?" And I laughed at her. I was like, "Is that a serious question?" Like, of course. Anyway, but I think that's the thing too. Like a lot of the my dad's a combat vet, my granddad's a combat vet, like, and like Peter Volkus, all these guys that I looked up to, they're all combat vets, but like, so now maybe that like super macho masculine stuff might actually be unrecognized, untreated trauma, and then it gets acted out in like being angry or drinking a lot, and it just gets celebrated as being macho, and it's like actually all these like
Right.
broken dudes, and it's not just the military either, I mean, like,
No, it's just, I think that's just a thing that a lot of men, specifically in our generation, are discovering now, that it's not just,
yeah, I mean,
it's not just the male
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
It's not normal to not just like rage all the time.
right.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it really it does feel like, I mean, I'm 53 and I'm just now realizing that, like, Peter Volkus was a nose gunner in World War II, carpet bombed Japan, said he was going to make something beautiful every day for the rest of his life, and like whatever. Paul Soldner, liberated death camps in Germany as a medic. Like, all these guys have been through all this stuff, and then like, it's just not, I don't know. But there again, too, right? Like I say, in the civilian world, it's the same thing, right? A black man, 18 to 30, is statistically safer in the Marine Corps in Afghanistan at the worst part of the war than any large city in the United States. Just like gun
Wow.
violence stuff, and like whatever. The United States is 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's incarcerated population. Now you're talking about freedom and democracy
Yeah.
with a straight face. Like, I don't know. I just make cups. but it is.
So much more than that. It is so much more than that.
But I say there's so many times where like I'm walking down the street and there's somebody like a crazy person screaming and yelling, and I'm like, they're not wrong.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
A little louder than I'd say it. Like, but
Right.
it's
No.
not wrong.
So how do you, like, you have this personality of, you keep saying, I just make cups, and you're just kind of like blasé about the whole thing. But like, honestly, like, when you make one, and when you pack it up and send it off into the world, like, how do you feel during that experience?
I mean, well, it depends. Like, sometimes they're for shows and they're just like,
Well, when it's not for show, when someone asks you specifically,
yeah,
they
I mean,
have
that's
a
a
story, and
that's an honor right there. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
it's,
That's an honor. Like that's you know, whatever. This woman, she's like, oh, my husband, did 2 tours in Vietnam, and his 2 Purple Hearts. I'll pay anything for a cup. Like, I think he already paid. It's like, and then again, like
yeah.
just I mean, it's a small thing. Somebody loses their son, or like loses a leg, or has like major brain damage, like from a blast. Like, a cup is not like, oh, but at least like, like it's not that much in return, like for your son, or your buddy that committed suicide, or it's a small thing, So it's an honor, to do that. And then there's a bunch of other cups that I feel like, it's not just military stuff, because it is like on this, like on the small scale and on the large scale, how we can turn like the other into something that somehow it's okay to drop bombs on, or like like, or keep in jail forever, or like, or like destroy put pig poop and blood all over the neighborhood. Like, I don't know, there's just all this, like, how we can't be kinder, or like just like the wasted resources, really, of like of war. Or and I think that's a thing too with the cups, that it feels like this like never ending production, just like
Mm-hmm.
for the dead, for the for the next war. Like, man, like this, I've been using this the CBU-87 cluster bomb. It's like 16 inches by 8 feet. I've been using that as a shelf, suspended over a map or hanging on the wall.
I'm sorry, you've been using what as a shelf?
The CBU-87 cluster bomb, the shape, 16 inches by 8 feet. It's just the shape of this cluster bomb that holds 202 bomblets, little bombs. So I've been using that shape as a shelf so I put like 202 cups on this shelf that looks like a bomb, and then have the footprint 200 meters by 400 meters. And I was thinking, like, this is getting old. I've been using this, since 91, or like, it's from the Gulf War, but now they're talking about cluster munitions again in
Oh my
then
God.
whatever, we're using them again. The Russians are using them. We're using them. Like, so it's like it's back in the news.
Mm,
Which just, on some level, I'm just tired of making stuff about war, but it just keeps coming, and
yeah.
we keep making new vets. So, if they can't look
Well,
away,
Yeah.
I can't look away.
well, and I mean, the thing about it, all jokes aside about mental health and, the practice and the process and is it a cup, is it more and all of that. But, it is so much more, and it is serving as that memorial in a way. Like, I also vacillate into the field of public art, and of course we could have just really drawn out discussions about monuments and memorials and all the rest in the public space. But this idea of this active living memorial, not just like, in some instances, like how you talk about for the family who holds on to that memorial, but I just think about even like knowing people who have, PTSD and are coping with this. And you talk about like having to finish your drink to think about it. But to have that moment where you can just like maybe calm yourself, maybe you're holding that cup and maybe you are thinking about things or you are working through things. And I think you're giving people such a tool, and not just like a functional tool. Oh yeah, look at that pun. Oh goodness, I didn't even do it on purpose. But really, you're just sharing something that is, it's incredibly valuable beyond words. And I appreciate how humble you are, but it, it's incredibly valuable. I think there's so much that it does for the person, the individual, the family, like society, even us talking about this and making it live. And, these are things that people don't like to talk about, but we have to talk about
Right.
them.
Well,
So,
that's very kind. I appreciate that.
you're not just making cups; you're making a
Right.
difference
Well,
for
but I
sure.
mean, again, it's if it is, it's the community. Like that's I have a fantasy about
Yeah.
making like a big bunker out of bags of clay and setting up
Mm,
like concertina wire and kilns and just sit there for like a month and take the bunker apart and make cups with other people and give the cups away, right? You
mm,
want to protect yourself, protect your community. And so the
right.
temptation is to build walls and separate yourself, separate your community. But another way to protect yourself, protect your community might be to expand your community, right? Destroy your enemy by making him your friend, kind of
Mm,
like. So I'd like to do that someday. Just- but again,
That
like
would
it's
be
the community. Like I don't know that art saved my life, but definitely the clay community for sure did. Other clay nerds I met, and that's I just everything's garbage without community. Like I mean,
right.
addiction, suicide, all that stuff, is way up with community, and that's the stuff that breaks my heart about the Marine Corps, right? Like we didn't have we have dark green and light green. It was all we're all just shades of green in the Marine Corps, and like, but how can we can train together, we can fight together, we can die together, we can be buried together, but there's no place in the United States we can live together, right? Like
Right.
that breaks my heart, and like with whatever with that last president, like I lost friends, like they just like cut me off because I didn't support that, and it's just been a real
Really.
drag. Like some draft dodging New Yorker or New Jersey wannabe New Yorker, like how like how he got to be the one to separate Marines is like it's too much. I mean, again, like, and that's what I think too with the Marines. Like, it's not because we hate the enemy so much that we're lethal. It's because we love each other so much. That's what makes it scary. It's like that's what makes
Mm,
you jump on grenades and run into fire. Is not because you hate the enemy. It's because you love each other so much and you're just trying to protect. But it's like, where is that in the civilian world? How can we just, you know, so many people homeless without medical insurance, in prison, we don't care. Like we just turn our backs on them. It's like, yeah, I got to make cups, or I really would just be screaming on the corner all the time.
yeah. Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I have an uncle who was a Marine, and I'm pretty sure that he was in the Gulf War. Um, but I don't know any other specifics other than
Right
that.
on. I'll make you a
And
cup.
we're not. He yeah, like did he does not talk about any of it.
Sure. I mean, but
Um,
that's what like I said, my dad didn't talk about it. My granddad didn't talk about it until I got back from mine, and I didn't understand. But Then my son, Dad, how come you were bad and now you're good? I said, what? And he said, you were a soldier, right? And I just started crying. I was like, let's go watch SpongeBob. Because I didn't know, like, because that's it. Like, I don't care what most people think about me, but to be demonized or idolized for something you did or didn't do in a context you can never explain by somebody you love so much, just like seeing that like glimmer of like excitement or terror in their eyes, either
Mm.
one is just like, oh man, you just don't want to see it. So it feels like it's easier not to talk about it, but that has consequences also. And also I think like just in general, like, the ones who do talk about it are usually liars. They're making it
Ah.
into some good and, like heroic thing. And it's just like, man, whatever. You got to tell yourself whatever you got to tell yourself to get through sleep and not, end it. But, there's no warm fuzzy about war.
Right.
It's just a failure. Like,
It's understandable.
it's just a failure.
So, it sounds like you're going to keep making cups. That's not something you're going to diverge from. Like, is
Probably,
that true?
yeah, probably not. I mean, I just boxed up 20 today. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know what else to do really. I mean, it does feel like a really small, impotent little gesture in the face of all the stuff that's going on. Like it's just like how do we like we have so many like with climate change or income inequality. There's so much stuff going on that like we could like and just the joy, man. The fucking sorry the joy of working together, having like diverse groups of people work together towards a common goal, like the joy of that, like straight up. I mean, as a platoon or whatever, like, it's just, I just don't know, where it is in the civilian world. Like, I mean, that's what people are, dude, how'd you go for the Marine Corps to UC Berkeley? I said, I know, right? I was part of this loving organization, No Man Left Behind, and now I'm part of this fascist, backstabbing academic cluster. It's been very difficult. Everybody laughs, but it's like there's no joke in that. Like it really is like professors say like in a group of 30 you're gonna have 5 that are worth it, and the rest of them just forget about. Like, can you imagine the platoon commanders? Like we got 5 good
Oh
Marines,
my
the rest are
God.
turds.
Right.
Like just cut them loose. Like they're dead. Like
Wow, that's harsh.
yeah. Well, but I mean, that's the thing too. Like I've been lucky a few times where people like they did say the harsh thing, but they meant it, right? Like I went to a gallery and the first time I went to a commercial gallery, the woman's like, "Well, this is strong work, but what's for sale?" I said, "Well, there's more to art than money, right?" And she said, "Not much."
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
God.
But bless her heart, like I appreciate her being honest about it, and not like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Tool, your work is just not for us," without saying why,
Right.
because like she also said make something bigger. I was like, "Why bigger?" So we can sell for more money.
Oh, my.
Right? But like, but I mean, that's and that's that's the thing that like I feel like that you know artists, they make the work they want to make and they want it to, but like in our culture, nothing like, are you a good doctor? How do you know you're a good doctor? Because you make a shit ton of money. Like, are you a good teacher? How do you know you're a good teacher? Because you make a bunch of money. Like, are you a good lawyer? It's because you make are you a good
Right.
artist? It's because you make money. That's like
Right.
the only scale we have. There's no like kindness or generosity, or it's just money. That's and yeah.
So, are you still doing workshops? Because, like I was saying earlier, that's how we met. You had come and done a demonstration,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think taught some decals to students, and that's definitely an opportunity for people, I think, to build a bit of that camaraderie. Is that something you still do?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm doing a group from the VA is coming out in November to campus, and then a group of veteran law students. They're going to come and do cups, and I'm going up to Arcata in November, Northern California. Work with about 200 vets up there, or like community people up there
Wow.
to do stuff for like a week.
And
So
is
yeah,
it more often that those are with vets, or is it sometimes civilians as well?
both. Yeah, I mean, well, that was God, man. That was a big mistake years ago in uh, Kansas City. I asked the curator there. I said, vets probably don't come out, so we're going to make cups. We work with the Kansas City Art Institute, and we're going to make cups for folks. So I was throwing them, and then people would bring pictures, and we'd scan the pictures, and then I had minions that would put the images on the cups later. And I said, oh, vets probably won't show up, so you could, you want to open it up to people who've lost family to violence. You could do that too, man. And we were sitting, I was sitting in the lobby of the museum there, Nelson Atkins, and looked over, and I saw people were crying in line. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be a long
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so all day, like, we just threw cups, and then they'd come sit next to me and tell me how their kid committed suicide or did a tour in Afghanistan and then came home and got killed at a liquor store. And it was like,
Oh, my goodness.
it was so striking because, and then so we made all the cups and then had them up, and so people could, like, the families could show their loved ones and, talk. But it was really striking how the families who had lost kids to war were, like, proud that their kids had, like, died for the country or, something. But the families of people who died at the liquor store or suicide, like they had like this chip on their shoulder trying to tell me that their kid was good and didn't deserve to die in the liquor store. Like, of course, who does? But, it was just a real striking. And just like all day, man, we're just like, like school groups were coming through and we're just like sitting there throwing and crying. And
Oh, God.
right at 5 o'clock, the curator came out with a case of beer. It's just like, we all just were like, what was that? That was rough.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you are holding so much for so many people through this practice and this exercise. I don't make cups, but I want to make you something. I don't know what it
Right.
is, but I'm
Right.
like,
Like, I
what can I
don't
give back to
do
you? Yeah.
really do much. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, but again, like,
can I ship you cookies? Like, I don't, like,
yeah, I
I
got
don't
plenty of cookies. Yeah, no, yeah, but it is. I mean, it's just like, what else am I going to do?
Where do you lay your burdens down?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I signed up, or I reached out to the VA now, 30 years later. A bunch of my buddies have, told me that I should go check them out. And so I'm going to see about that, which is kind of terrifying. It's weird that you wouldn't think it'd be that hard, but
Oh, it's difficult
Yeah.
to just get vulnerable. Just get out there.
Yeah, I normally ask people about their mentors, but I guess today I'm kind of curious about something else. Like, are there any artists that are out there, obviously not necessarily making cups, but making similar work or making for the similar reasons that you have any kind of relationship with?
Well, I met, when I was in undergrad, is that 30 years ago? 20 something? When I was at undergrad at USC, and Richard Notkin came through. His son was going to school there, and so we've been trading work since then. So Richard Notkin is these little tiles that he's been.
Oh,
So he makes these huge
that's
walls,
cool.
like. But that was, I mean,
Wow.
that's so yeah. So I've been trading work with him, and then other veterans, Jesse Albrecht and Ash Kyrie and Drew Cameron. That's again, it's just the community is the best part of the thing. And yeah, there's another woman. She's a Navy. She's not an artist necessarily, but Kelly Carlisle. She does this thing called acting non-verba, actions not words. Does like urban farming, like has kids grow produce and sells them, and then sets up savings accounts for them. She's just whatever. They're just cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that question. There's some people I love in this world, and they're doing cool stuff, and I got to know them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important. I think we all, we each have whatever it is that we're dealing with that we maybe do or do not talk about, and it's always important to find community that it resonates with. I'm sure it gets heavy always trying to be there for other people and help them navigate through. So that's super
But I mean,
important.
but it goes both ways. I mean, it's like they're there for me also, and just that, like, just knowing that a lot of people are suffering without saying anything, and so when somebody does call me up, and yeah, okay, it's 3 in the goddamn morning, and I gotta go to work, but I'm glad you called. I mean, because
Right.
I've lost some buddies that like they didn't call and they're
Yeah.
gone now. So it's not. I mean, it is hard though. Like it's like, oh, yeah, there was a Iraq vet who was a medic and did some things he didn't feel good about, and then I hooked him up with a Vietnam vet who was a medic. Like to get them to talk, like because I don't know what to say to everybody for every situation, but like again, bringing the community together, connecting people, I think is the best hope, for so many things. Just like community is it's so nice.
It is. So I know that we're running closer to time and there's another question, but I want to say to you again, really thank you. You actually gave me a cup when you were here. Like I said, my siblings, my family, a number of my family were in different wars and in the military, and I see that cup every day. And then I have a second one that I use, and honestly, I'm so grateful for it. It's something that I think about, especially like I'm super, my sister is really close to me. She was in the military. My nieces. So it's something that like I actually feel thankful when I use that cup because these people are still in my life, and I recognize, that could be untrue. So there's a positive side to that, at least in my story. So again, thank you for what you do, and Kahmeela, go for it.
Well, so I hope you have your list handy, Ehren, because we ask all of our artists to give us 3 songs that they would use to describe their practice, their work, their
Yeah,
art.
so I forgot the artist of one, but Que Sera Sera is one, right? Like, right, whatever will
From
be.
Sound of Music?
No, Que Sera, was it?
Or
Whatever
Oh,
will be
is
will
Wax
that
be.
Taylor?
Huh?
Is it by Wax Taylor?
Que Sera Sera? It's like freaking Doris Day or something. It's
Okay.
old.
yeah, that's from
Que Sera
well,
Sera, whatever will be.
maybe it's not. No, yeah, it is. Maybe it's not from Sound of Music, but yeah,
But whatever,
that's who I was
whatever
thinking
will
of.
be, and that's the thing with the cups, right? If they're art or craft or good or bad or like it's not. Nobody can say. Nobody can tell me, right? We'll see. We'll see
I like it.
what will be. Will be.
There is a good Wax Taylor remix of that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then province, like it's the TV on the radio, like. Uh, Sorry, why do I cry? Anyway, it's just about love, saying that love is the province of the brave, right? That's where the brave live
Oh wow.
is in love, and so that's the fantasy with the cups too. That those are kind of little, love notes to the future. And there's another I can't remember but it's like remain, some blanket, but just whatever that the cups will remain. Unless somebody really takes a hate to them, like wants to make them into grog, but even as shards they'll remain, and that's all we know of a lot of cultures. So yeah, I realize you probably weren't looking for like super exact stuff, but that is just it's like hard to get my head around the like the longevity of ceramics, and like
Hmm.
how they'll be like people will put them to their lips and hold them in their hands and like you know uh, but and that's the thing too, right? Just like your kids, you want to take care of your kids. You want your cups. You want the things you make to find a life and find happiness, like usefulness or something. But too, like I just wish I could do more. Cups just seems like such a little tiny thing, But I wish I could do more.
Well, I think you've been doing it for such a long time, and I feel like you have done a lot for a lot of people. And so what you see as just like these small little tokens of love and appreciation, like it means a lot more to other people, as Rachel has just expressed, as well as there's just a lot of people out there that you have helped in one way or another, I'm sure.
I hope that's true. I appreciate it.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Sounds from the Studio is produced by Rugged Angel Productions for Contemporary Craft. Hosted by Rachel Rearick and Kahmeela Adams with production support by Mandy Wilson. please subscribe to and rate the show wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to share. Thanks for listening.